What's going on, my Century Units? It's the Centuryman here, so back again with another WCW pay-per-view review. This time I'm going to review WCW Superbrawl 5 from 1995. So this show was at the Baltimore Arena. Right now it's called the CFG Bank Arena in Baltimore, Maryland on the 19th of February 1995. The attendance of the show is 13,390. Superbrawl 5 received about 180,000 pay-per-view buys, an upgrade than the previous year's Super Brawl that received about 110,000 pay-per-view buys. And talk about Super Brawl 4 from 1994. Super Brawl 4, like I said, received about 110,000 pay-per-view buys. This show, Super Brawl 5, received about 180,000 pay-per-view buys. The commentators for this show are Tony Schiavone and Bobby the Brain Heenan. This show, you could say it's kind of memorable for the main event. The main event for this show is Hulk Hogan versus Vader for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. I'll get to the main event later on in this review. So let's talk about the dark matches. Actually, they're not really dark matches. They are matches on a tape show called Main Event. So the first match on Main Event, we had Mr. Wonderful, Paul Orndorff, defeat Brad Armstrong. Brad Armstrong is the late brother of Road Dogg Jesse James in 3 minutes and 45 seconds. Then you got a tag team match, Stars and Stripes, that is Marcus Alexander Bagwell, the future Buff Bagwell, and the Patriot. The Patriot is the late Dale Wilkes, who ended up going to the WWF 2 years later in 1997 with the future Kurt Angle theme music. They defeat a team of Romeo Valentino and Dino Casanova in 1 minute and 10 seconds. This revolves around Vader. I'll get more in details when I get to the main event later on in this review. Then you got a lumberjack match for the WCW Television Championship. Arn Anderson defeat Johnny B. Bad for the TV title in that lumberjack match in 4 minutes 29 seconds. So that's the matches on main event. Main event, I'm guessing it's like the predecessor to Thunder, because this is months before Nitro debuted, because Nitro debuted in September of that year, so months before the Monday Night War era of WCW. So anyway, it's about the first match to kick off the main show of Super Brawl 5. So we got Death Thunder Kid, Alex Wright, taking on one half of a tag team called the Pretty Wonderfuls, Paul Roma. Pretty Wonderfuls is a tag team with Paul Orndorff and Paul Roma, the two Pauls. So the build up to this, I don't really call it a build up. So this revolves around who got like a female reaction. So basically, Paul Roma, I'm going to read the storylines on the Wikipedia page, says on the 29th of January's episode of Saturday Night, is it called just Saturday Night or Saturday Night Main Event? Anyway, so Paul Roma confronted Alex Wright during Wright's match out of jealousy, because he's jealous because Alex Wright become very popular with the female fans. He tried to woo a female fan with his body and looks, because if you watch a Alex Wright match during this time period, he does the dance because he's the Death Thunder Kid. So anyway, so Wright, instead of him, which it began a feud between Roma and Wright. Later that night, it's announced that he would face Roma at Super Brawl. So yeah, jealously over fan reactions. That's the build up to this. You know, Roma getting jealous of Alex Wright because he's getting the most reaction of the female ladies. So the match. By the way, this was Paul Wright. I keep saying Paul Wright. No, Paul Roma's final match in WCW. I'll get to more of that later on. Anyway, the match was okay. This is in the pre-Cruiserweight era of WCW, because the Cruiserweight division was formed the following year in 1996. So I think it wrestled an okay of a match. You could tell the fans were get behind Alex Wright. You got, and I think the announcer, I don't know who's the announcer at the time. Is it Dave Pensa? I don't know. I think it's no Gary Michael Capata. This is before Dave Pensa. Anyway, so he he mentioned like Alex Wright is the youngest wrestler to wrestle in WCW because it's true because at the time Alex Wright was, you could say, 19 going on 20. So anyway, it was a wrestle an okay match. It got like decent timing. You know, when I watched it for the first time, I give it like 2 stars, but nah, I think it was a wrestle fine match. It was on drags. It was not like a cruiserweight match. High spot, high spot, high spot. I think they wrestled a fine, good match for what it is. Anyway, then out comes Paul Orndorff. Yeah, two Pauls in that tag team, Pretty Wonderfuls. By the way, Paul Roma used to be part of the Horsemen. I think he was a tag team champion with Arn Anderson, the Enforcer. I think he was. I think he's fault. I think Paul Roma is one of the worst members into that group. Anyway, it was really the rest of a fine, good match for what it is. Anyway, so Paul Orndorff did not really get involved. There's one spot in this match, like Roma locking, really locking right with the wrist lock, and right keep kicking up after while like Roma is locking right with the wrist lock. It's very confusing. Right and wrist similar. Yeah, they got like WR, right wrist. Anyway, so yeah, Roma still locking the hold onto right. I think he counted into a arm drag. Paul Roma hit a diving elbow off the top rope, but that was a near fall. Like, anyway, so in the end, Wright hit Roma with the crossbody. It's very close on the ropes, and then Paul Orndorff pulled Alex Wright off the ropes. In the end, Orndorff was on the top of the ring apron, and then Wright kind of kicked Orndorff. He basically kicked Roma into Orndorff, and then Orndorff set flying off the ring apron, and then Wright rolled up Roma for the win. And that was it. So, like I said, this was Paul Roma's final WCW pay-per-view appearance and pay-per-view match in the company. I don't think he came back. If he did came back, he'll probably be like a jobber, because how is he gonna fit in the Monday Night War era of WCW? So yeah, it was his last WCW match, and I'm gonna read the aftermath. So Paul Roma was scheduled to lose the match against Alex Wright at Superbrawl, like he did, but he kicked out when Wright hit the pin. Yeah, he kind of kicked out of Wright's pin attempt at 2.5 during this event. Unfortunately, that led to WCW officials to fire Roma the following month in March. During later years, Roma revealed in a shoot interview that WCW management were planning to push Alex Wright as the next major star of the company and a successor to Hulk Hogan, and he was critical of Wright and considering. I'm sorry, I got a speech problem, and also not really a good reader, man. Wright and consider Wright of an unworthy of being the next top guy. It's kind of true because yeah, I think they pushed him too hard, because even though he's too young to be pushed, he's only 19. Being the successor to Hulk Hogan, I think that's like a broad statement, but at the same time, like, Wright never ended up becoming a top star of the company. He really stayed in the company until the end of WCW's run. The Just Fund Kid, it was popular at the time, and then later years it gets stale. You end up like turning right heel, speaking in German. But yeah, I think they missed the boat on him, because last year I reviewed Mayhem '99. he was Berlin, and they dropped the gimmick. I think the gimmick was okay, underrated. They never went full throttle on it. Keep the gimmick much longer. It was just a short-term gimmick for Alex Wright, and then they're just basically just going back as the Just Thunder Kid. Yeah, yeah. I understand why Roma doesn't want to push Wright, and yeah, I don't know. I think he was told against WCW rules. I don't know the whole thing, but yeah, it's just like consider Wright to be the next top star and Hogan's successor because you can't really push. Yeah, it's very hard to break through the Hulk Hogan ceiling. Like great example, Billy Kidman. Beat Hulk Hogan in that rivalry with Hogan in the year 2000. It didn't amount for anything. Yeah, so I'm trying to get to the next matches on the show, but I'm trying to get my 2 cents on it. So yeah, I think he was bitter, because Roma, like I said, was scheduled to lose to Wright, and he did, and then he kicked out the Wright pinfall attempt at 2.5 during the event, and yeah, and it's just he got heated backstage, got fired, and yeah, and speak the truth about Wright's going to get pushed as the next major star. Yeah, it didn't work. It didn't really work. It didn't work out for Alex Wright. Don't know if he was cruiserweight champion. Did he win it? I'm not so sure. Did Wright won a single championship in WCW? I don't know. But anyway, so let's move on to the next matches on the card. Sorry, I'm trying to get. I know I'm rambling, but I'm trying to get my points out, get my 2 cents on it. So let's move on to the next match on the show. Like the opening was fine. It's hard to really rate this, Yeah, I give it to. I think you could say it's the third best match of the night, But yeah, after this match, you can tell the show went downhill. So the next match, we got Hacksaw Jim Duggan taking on Bunkhouse Buck with Colonel Robert Parker, the future Tennessee Lee in WWF. With Meng, aka the former Haku, in the corner of Bunkhouse Buck. So no, I think this match has no build to this. I feel like it was added to the last minute to beef up the card. So it's just what it is. Take it or leave it. Nothing much to say about this match. This match sucked. The fans were to get behind Jim Duggan, doing the oh. Like I said, I was lying. There was kind of a build. It says on the 28th of episode of Pro, it was announced that Duggan will face Bunkhouse Buck at Superbrawl. The following night at Worldwide, Duggan defeat Buck by disqualification after interference by Arn Anderson. So this is basically a rematch. This was a rematch on Worldwide. Is that you can say it's the C show or the B show of WCW's program. This is months before. This is months before Nitro, because like I said, Nitro debuted in September of 1995. Anyway, like I said, nothing much about this match between Hacksaw Jim Duggan versus Bunkhouse Buck. Duggan go oh, and really the whole bulk of the match, Duggan had mostly the offense on Bunkhouse Buck. Buck didn't really pull up his dukes. I think he did had some offense in this match. I think without the referee noticing, he grabbed the I think it was his rope and rammed it into Duggan's throat. But besides that, it's just basically Duggan mostly got the offense. Meng in this match did not got involved. Let's talk about the end. So in the end, you had Bunkhouse Buck is a dumbass. He kind of throw Duggan into Colonel Robert Parker, and then Duggan hit the 3-point stance onto Bunkhouse Buck for the win. Then out comes Ming, attacked Duggan. I think he locked him in some kind of trap hold, and this has set up a karate match at the first Uncensored show the following month. By the way, if you want to watch my review of that show, it's on my WCW/NWA pay-per-view playlist. And that's the first show, or the first show I review on this segment to kick off the, because it's it was in the springtime when I started doing these WCW/NWA pay-per-view reviews. Uncensored 95. That was the first pay-per-view I review in this segment. So anyway, yeah, it's just some of these matches are just setting up matches at the first Uncensored show the following month. That's just the theme of this. Just set up matches at the next pay-per-view. So the next match, we got Kevin Sullivan with the Butcher. The Butcher is Ed Leslie, aka the formerly known as Brutus the Barber Beefcake. You can tell this is the part of the whole Free Face of Fear faction. You can say it's the predecessor to the Dungeon of Doom. Kevin Sullivan taking on his kayfabe brother Dave Sullivan, aka Evad. So Dave Sullivan is basically he is the kayfabe, like I said, the kayfabe brother of Kevin Sullivan, the future Taskmaster of WCW. Part of the Dungeon of Doom. Dave Sullivan, or Ebad, he was a Delesic. I can't really pronounce it properly. Basically, I'm guessing this Ebad Dave Sullivan character is basically the 90s version of Eugene, because Eugene is a disabled character. I don't know if he's like the character Eugene has autism or some kind of mental disability. I'm guessing that's the 90s version of Eugene. I'm talking about Dave Sullivan, Delesic. I can't really pronounce the name properly. I think it's I know what it is. It's basically you can't really read. So the build up to this, Dave Sullivan really despised his brother because Dave, or Evad, whatever his name is, he basically becoming a fan of Hulk Hogan, because at the time Hogan and Sullivan were feuding, because Free Face of Fear. Anyway, Dave Sullivan was involved in the rivalry with his kayfabe brother Kevin Sullivan since late 1994. Due to Kevin being angry of Dave being the fan of Hulk Hogan, and Kevin trying to prevent Dave from being Hogan's associate, but failed to stop Dave from doing so. And it's evolved into a rivalry between the two at Halloween Havoc, when Dave defeated Kevin by countout. At Starrcade, Dave caused Kevin in a match against Mr. T by posing as Santa Claus and hitting Kevin with the sack of load with Jimmy Hart's megaphones. After the match, Kevin attacked Dave and delivered a power driver to Dave. And then on the 14th of January's episode of Saturday Night, Kevin cost Dave a match against Bobby Eaton. And on the following weeks at Saturday Night, Kevin and Dave compete in a match against each other, in which Kevin was disqualified after the Butcher attacked Dave, and the Butcher cut Dave's hair, cut his hair and his boots, and a match was announced between the two Sullivans at Superbrawl on the 28th of January's episode of Saturday Night. So this is a grudge match between Kevin Sullivan and Evad, aka Dave Sullivan. So the match sucked. It's just punch, 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 punch. Did I mention punch, punch, punch? And also the Butcher. I don't understand why is the Butcher's gimmick. He's basically wearing sunglasses. Like Ed Leslie, he has some crappy gimmicks in WCW, because I think he only had one gimmick in the WWF as Bruce Beefcake and the Barber. But besides that, in WCW he had multiple gimmicks. The Butcher, the Zodiac, the Disciple, man, all over the place, and also the Booty Man. Jesus Christ, well, you could say the Barber gimmick was okay in WWF, but in WCW it's just bad gimmick after a bad gimmick after a bad gimmick. And was it Brother Breetai? It's just like, and also I forgot to mention this, he feud with Hogan, or main event against Hogan at Starrcade 1994. Anyway, so let's cut this match short. It was just like I said, punch, 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 big man moves. In the end, you had Kevin Sullivan throw his brother Dave into the Butcher, rolled up Dave Sullivan, my apologies, for the win, and that was it. And I'm guessing I'm guessing this was the end of the rivalry between Kevin Sullivan and Dave Sullivan because Dave Sullivan ended up feuding with DDP, and this is revolving around a rabbit, an arm wrestling contest that's drive a rift between DDP and Kimberly because I reviewed Great American Bash 1995. I reviewed most of WCW's pay-per-views of that year, 1995. So after two bad matches on the show, you could say it was a good match between Alex Wright and Paul Roma. So we got the first of two championship matches on the show, and the TV title that doesn't really count because that's on an episode of Main Event. It was taped, but you only have two championship matches on this show. The main event is for the world title, so the next match, this is for the WCW World Tag Team Championships. Holland Heat, Booker T, Stevie Ray with Sister Sherry, aka Sensational Sherry, defend the WCW Tag Team Championships against the Nasty Boys, that is Brian Knobbs and Jerry Sags. So it happened at Starrcade, they fought. This is basically a rematch from Starrcade 1994. When I think Sister Sherry got involved, I think it was a disqualification. So anyway, here's the storyline. So yeah, it is a rematch from Starrcade 1994. Sister Sherry accidentally hit a splash from the top rope onto Booker T to basically cause disqualification to make sure Holland Heat retained the tag team titles. Then you could say Holland Heat, had a mini feud with Stars and Stripes. That's Marcus Alexander Bagwell, future Bagwell, and the Patriot Dale Wilkes. They retained the tag team titles against the Stars and Stripes tag team, and I think the rematch was at Clash of the Champions in January of that year, and then they announced that and then on the 28th of January's episode of Saturday Night, just Saturday Night. It's a Saturday Night main event anyway. So it was announced that Holland Heat would defend the tag team titles against the Nasty Boys at Superbrawl. Then on the 11th of February's episode of Saturday Night, Holland Heat successfully once again retained the tag team titles against Stars and Stripes, and then it led up to a brawl between the both tag teams. I'm talking about Nasty Boys and Holland Heat. I like Booker T in this time period because Booker T was he does that yowl. It's kind of funny for me. It's kind of it's kind of funny. He kind of was jaw jacking the fans. Like he kind of confront like this black kid. Like he says, "Get your hands off me, punk." I'm not doing the voice impression. And then I think he was. You don't see Booker jaw jacking with an actual fan. He kind of yell towards a fan, says, "We don't." Yeah, he say, "We don't need you to support the Heat, fool." I would say, "Punk, we don't need you to support the Heat, fool." He threatened to come back there and knock you into it last week, you dumb idiot. I'm not doing the voice impression of Booker T. I like him when he's doing the King Booker gimmick, King Booker. But it's kind of funny, he's just jaw jacking the fans. It's kind of funny, like he was yelling at a fan, says, "We don't need you to support the Heat, fool," and friend to come back. He wanted to beat that fan into next week, call him a dumb idiot, not stupid idiot. This is 20 years before Jericho made stupid idiots look cool. Anyway, so you could say this is the match of the night for me. I really like this match, and Sister Sherry says they want some, now they're going to get some. That's future John Cena's, one of John Cena's catchphrase. Anyway, so it was good for what it is. The first half of the match, you had the Nasty Boys working on, I think it was on Booker T and Stevie Ray, like they working on the leg of Stevie Ray. Then the second half of the match, Holland Heat work on Jerry Sags. Like I felt like some moments of the match, you had, I think it was Jerry Sags with Brian Knobbs. I think it was I think it was Jerry Sags, going after sister Sherry. Sherry's beautiful. Like Sherry didn't really hurt this match. I think Sherry, it was not like she's not like interfering left, right, and center. Like kind of hit Jerry Sags with an assisted head. He kind of rammed he rammed Jerry Sags' head into one of the steel barricade, and then minutes later, without the referee noticing, smacked Jerry Sags with a right punch. And then she said to a fan who's trying to be nice, Sherry's fucking good, man. It's really sad that she was taken away too soon. She died at the age of 49, nearly 50. But anyway, so I really enjoyed this match. It wasn't really boring. I really enjoy it. I think there's some chemistry between Holland Heat and the Nasty Boys. So in the end, Brian Knobbs got the hot tag, and then here's the crap finish. So Jerry Sags throw Booker T over the top rope. Sherry trying to hit Brian Knobbs with one of her shoe. She accidentally hit Stevie Ray instead. Knobbs pinned Stevie Ray to win this match and become the new WCW Tag Team Champions. The fans were really cheered for it, but out comes, I think the referee in that match was Nick Patrick, and then out comes Randy Anderson informing Nick Patrick that, the Nasty Boys are disqualified because throwing your opponent over the top rope is a no-no. I don't like this rule. I'm glad they got rid of it. I'm glad they don't do it, because throwing someone over the top rope is stupid. Because it is a stupid way to get yourself disqualified. It doesn't really accomplish anything. And it's just what it is. I don't want to get in detail of it. It's just a stupid way to get yourself disqualified. So, besides that, despite the dirty finish, I think this is the best match of the night for me. I like it, And by the way, I think Nasty Boys went on to, they went on to defeat Holland Heat at Slamboree of that year in May to win the tag team titles, and then Holland Heat wins the belts back, and I think it was still a continuation of that rivalry throughout the spring and the summer of 1995. So yeah, it was a good match, but it was a dusty finish, and it also got good time, nearly 20 minutes, So let's move on to the next match. Wow, why? This match, it's got 60 minutes. I'll get to more of that shortly. So the next match we got the Natural, Dustin Rhodes, aka the future Goldust, and the future American Nightmare. This is 2 decades before Cody took up that nickname, taking on Blacktop Bully with Colonel Robert Parker in the corner. So if you don't know who's the Blacktop Bully is Barry Darsow, sorry, speaking too fast by the way. The former Demolition Smash and the Repo Man in the WWF. Similar to Ed Leslie, he also had crap gimmicks in WCW. Blacktop Bully, Khrushchev Khrushchev, Mr. Hole-in-One. Wow, fucking hell, he has crappy gimmicks, man. Like, it's funny, like, I know he has the Repo Man in the WWF. That was a crap gimmick as well, but man, I don't get why these wrestlers getting these crap gimmicks in 1990s, in WCW, Dustin Rhodes also had crap gimmicks, as well. I think he was 7 in WCW. That was actually fucking stupid, but anyway, no build to this. I think this felt like a match you probably add to the last minute, to beef up the cards. So here's the build up to this. So Blacktop Bully was arrested. He was arrested for shoving Dustin Rhodes after Rhodes defeats George South in a match on the 26th of November's episode of Saturday Night. It's Saturday night, so I'm speaking too fast by the way. So Bully returned to WCW the following month after a brief confrontation with Rhodes on the 14th of January's episode of Saturday Night. Bully warned Rhodes the following weeks that Saturday night that Rhodes would end up like a roadkill if they encounter against each other on the 28th of January's episode of Saturday Night, it was announced that Rhodes was faced Bully at Superbrawl. On the 5th of February's episode of Worldwide, Bully attacked Rhodes during the match between Rhodes and Bunkhouse Buck. So before the start of this match, you had at the time the on-screen commissioner of WCW, Nick Bockwinkel. I think that's his name. Bockwinkel. Bockwinkel. I can't really pronounce his name. Nick Bockwinkel. You know, if he kind of formed like Colonel Robert Parker and Blacktop Bully, that Meng is banned from ringside. And I think he threatened Robert Parker that he could be suspended, and then you had Blacktop Bully, Barry Darsow, basically shouting, not really getting the face of Nick Bockwinkel, but said like you're full of dirt, because at the time, yeah, I was right, Bockwinkel. So yeah, he got in the face of Bockwinkel, says you're full of dirt, and that was it. Match sucked. No, there was no chemistry between Dustin Rhodes and Barry Darsow. You know, it's just like some bulk of the match, you had Rhodes working on the arm of Blacktop Bully, but besides that, it was boring. And also, the one positive for me is the fans that were chanting KFC towards Robert Parker because he's dressed up like Colonel Sanders. You know, it's funny, he's dressed up like Colonel Sanders, the poster boy of Kentucky Fried Chicken. Anyway, so in the end, I think Rhodes was going for the suplex. He's trying to suplex Barry Darsow into the ring. Then Parker tripped up Dustin Rhodes after Dustin Rhodes. Sorry, I call him Dusty Rhodes. Similar names. Anyway, Robert Parker like tripped up Dustin Rhodes after he got tagged. He kind of knocked Parker off the ring apron. So it's basically a spot. It's the same spot at WrestleMania 5 between the Warrior and Rick Rude. You know, he tripped up Dustin Rhodes, and then Blacktop Bully pins Dustin Rhodes, and then Robert Parker grabbed one of Rhodes' legs for leverage without the referee noticing, and Blacktop Bully won this match in 16 minutes. Wow, why do they give 16 minutes? 60 minutes of crap. You know, which it's just like, wow, too long. And by the way, this is set up the infamous King of the Road match at the first Uncensored show the following month that led up both Blacktop Bully and Dustin Rhodes getting fired from the company because they bled, because at the time they banned blood, because banning blood in any wrestling company don't mean shit, because WWE do it not all the time, but they do it sometimes. They do this thing like, oh, we're banning blood, but instead they kind of relax the rule. Anyway, so it's just what it is. They end up coming back to the company years later. You know, Dustin Rhodes and Barry Darsow, because you know, for Dustin Rhodes, he ended up going to the WWF as Goldust, then come back to WCW years later. Stayed until the company went out of business, and then came back to the WWF in 2002. Barry Darsow, I think he was in WCW in the Monday Night War era, but he was more of a jobber, but not like a character on regular WCW programming. So moving on to the next match. So the next match, this is a tag team match. We got Sting and the Macho Man Randy Savage. Oh yeah. Taking on Avalanche. That is the future. That's the former Earthquake and the future John Tenta. That's his real name, John Tenta, by the way. Teaming up with Big Bubba Rogers. That's the former Guardian Angel, the former Boss Man, and also the former Big Boss Man in the WWF. And his real name is Ray Traylor. So here's the build up to this. So trying to find it. Anyway, so trying to find it. Here I found it. So at Starrcade, Sting defeat Avalanche by disqualification after Avalanche Free Face of Fear teammate Kevin Sullivan attacked Sting. While the original referee was knocked out, led to Randy Anderson to disqualify the Avalanche. Then on the 7th of January's episode of Saturday Night, Commissioner Nick Bockwinkel announced a rematch between Sting and Avalanche at Clash of the Champions, with the Guardian Angel as the special guest referee. Before the two face each other on the 8th of January's episode of Main Event, Sting won by disqualification by interference by the Three Faces of Fear. The Three Faces of Fear is basically the predecessor to the Dungeon of Doom that'll be later on in the year, with the Taskmaster Kevin Sullivan, the Giant, the future Big Show, the Zodiac, and the cameo appearance of the Yeti. So anyway, yeah, at Clash of the Champions, I can't pronounce XXX. Sting applied the Scorpion Deathlock onto the Avalanche during the match, and submitted the Avalanche to the hold guest referee, the Guardian Angel. That's like I said, Ray Traylor, the former Big Boss Man, the Boss Man in WCW, and soon to be Big Bubba Rogers. He was Big Bubba Rogers in the NWA era or GCP era before WCW. That was in the mid 80s. Anyway, so Guardian Angel did not ring the bell, and Nick Patrick came to the ring against the Angel's orders, so it led to a brawl between Sting and the Angel, which led to the Angel turning heel and revert to his previous name, Big Bubba Rogers. On the 28th of January's episode of Saturday Night, it was announced that Sting and Randy Savage would compete against the Avalanche and Rogers at Superbrawl. This is technically, you could say this is Randy Savage's first pay-per-view match in WCW, because he came to WCW in late 1994. He jumped ship to the WWF. That really, he's one. You could say one of the characters led. It's funny, like at this moment in time, because I think he was getting sick of the WWF being misused, because he was a commentator. He's no longer an on-screen competitor. He went to WCW, become the competitor. You could say he had a good run in WCW. Winning multiple-time world champion, part of the NWO Black and White. Think he was part of the Wolfpack. I'm not too sure on it. It's just what it is. So, Randy Savage, you could say it's his first pay-per-view match since he arrived from WWF. The match was okayish. Like I think it was basically speed versus strength, because Sting and Savage represent the speed and the agility, and Big Bubba and the Avalanche represent strength. Even though they're not good in the ring, they're known for their size, but not with their wrestling ability. So I think they made for what it is, man. It's it was okay for what it is. It wasn't boring. It really was speed. I think Savage and Sting carried them to a passable, okay match. So anyway, it wasn't okay. It was, and also you had Ric Flair, attending the show. I'll talk about. I'll pause this match between Sting, Savage, Avalanche, and Big Bubba. Ric Flair, appeared on the show because he was retired after the retirement match against Hogan and Flair at Halloween Havoc '94. Mean Gene, actually, on second thought, I'm gonna save it towards the main event. Anyway, let's carry on talking about this match. So, like I say, it was a fun match for what it is. It was okayish. It was a passable standard match. In the end, I think Sting hit the Stinger Splash on both Big Bubba and Avalanche. He was trying to hit Avalanche again with a second Stinger Splash, but he countered it. So in the end, I think Savage hit the diving elbow off the top rope onto Big Bubba. Sting hit a crap-looking clothesline off the top rope onto the Avalanche. And Sting and Savage won this match against Big Bubba Rogers and Avalanche in 10 minutes 18 seconds. It was a fine minute for what it is, man. I wish, because better than the previous match that was nearly 60 minutes long. But some moments of the match, you had Ric Flair provoking and egging Savage to attack him. I'll get more later on why Flair attending the show is at ringside, not ringside, but attending the front row seat for the show later on, or shortly, actually. This is leading up to two separate matches at Superbrawl at the first on center show. Like I said, this shows some of these matches are setting up matches at the following month's on center show. You had Sting went on to face Big Bubba Rogers, and Savage facing the Avalanche, and then the lead up to Ric Flair, disguised as a woman, attack Randy Savage, come out his retirement, and set up Savage and Flair for the not the rest of 1995, but the whole Savage and Flair fought for the whole bulk of 1995. This is, and also during that rivalry between Flair and Savage, it revolved around Randy Savage's dad, Angelo Poffo. That was at Slamboree. Yeah, I cover a lot of Savage matches of 1995, and also they fought in 1996 over the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. Because also I don't just cover just the pay-per-views, but I cover some Nitros. I might go back and review some Nitros in the future, man. It's been a long time, but anyway, so let's talk about the main event. So the main event, you can see two guys, but you got two guys. You see on the screen right now. We got Hulk Hogan with Mouth of the South Jimmy Hart in the corner of the Hulkster, defending his WCW World Heavyweight Championship against Vader. So, how's they get there? So this was the end of the rivalry between Hogan and the Three Faces of Fear after Hogan defeated the Butcher of that year's Starrcade in late 1994. So he moved on to his next challenger and next rival, Vader. So on the same show, like I said, Hogan defeat the Butcher. You had Vader defeat Jim Duggan for the WCW United States Championship. So Hogan and Vader, Vader confronted Hogan during a post-match interview and challenged him to a match for the title. Hogan, and said that he said Hogan was afraid of him. That led to a brawl to take place between the two. This has led to between two. Sorry, I'm gonna read it again. I'm speaking too fast. I'm all over the place. So I'm gonna read it again. So at Starrcade, 1994, Vader defeat Jim Duggan to win the WCW United States Championship. Later that night, Hogan defeat the Butcher to retain the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. After the match, Vader confronted Hogan during a post-match interview and challenged him to a match for the title. Said Hogan that Hogan was afraid of him, which led to a brawl to take place between the two. This led to a match between the two for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship at Superbrawl. On the 14th of January's episode of Saturday Night, it revealed that Gene Okerlund, that Vader and Hogan were not allowed to get involved physical confrontations and be near each other. This title match at Superbrawl at the Clash of the Champions XXX, Monster Maniacs, aka they basically formed the Bigger Powers. I thought it was like they formed the Bigger Powers during that Cage of Doom match at Uncensored 96. Unfortunately, that's not the case. So Monster Maniacs, Hogan and Savage defeat the Three Faces of Fear members of the Butcher and Kevin Sullivan, and then Vader confronted Hogan by hitting Hogan with the powerbomb, but then Hogan rose up, cleared Hogan out of the ring. Then on the 11th of February's episode of Saturday Night, Gene Okerlund conducted an interview with Ric Flair, and Flair predicted that Vader would win the title from Hogan at Superbrawl. He returned to WCW on the following week's Saturday Night to announce that he would show up at Superbrawl during Hogan and Vader title match. Sorry about that. I was speaking too fast. I'm not really a reader. I'm an okay reader, but I'm not dyslexic. I speak too fast. I'm like, I don't really read that much. Anyway, so And speaking of Flair, Flair, um, like I said, he did show up on the show. Before that, on the show I saw on the network, you had Vader appeared in Flair's limousine. You don't see Flair's face. You see the blonde hair. People are speculating that it's Ric Flair in that limousine. Then it's kind of funny, like Vader's kind of confronting like a cameraman because he's sticking his nose in Vader's business. Then he confront like another limousine rider, a limousine driver. My apologies, speaking too fast by the way. Vader kind of confront this limousine driver. He kind of throttled him. Then he smashed the back of the window of the limousine limo. I keep saying limousine, but I mean limo. But he kind of smashed the back of the limo. Then he got involved in that tag team match from earlier. It was the Stars and Stripes taking on Casanova and Valentino, to get some more heat. And before that, he kind of confronted Bischoff and Dusty Rhodes, they're not really commentating for the show. I think it was, I don't know what they were doing. Maybe part of the internet crew at the time. I don't want to get into it. So anyway, and then Flair did show up. He did show up a minute later on the show. You had Mean Gene confronting Ric Flair. About did he appear in the limo talking to Vader, and then he kind of dodging the question of Mean Gene. Says why am in Vader's limo? He said he's in Baltimore for the party. I can't really do a impersonation of Ric Flair. He says he's there for the party. He came to Baltimore for the party. It brings up Dusty Rhodes. Brings up his rivalry with Dusty Rhodes. He's trying to do the Randy Savage's impression. The oh yeah. And then he wants to see. He said like Hogan. It'd be the last time that Hogan's gonna leave with the World Championship. So he said he's gonna attend the show front row. So let's talk about this match. Hulk Hogan, Vader for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. The second of two world title matches on the show because, like I said, the TV title was on main event. And also, like I mentioned, Vader was the United States champion, but he's not putting the belt on the line. And in the corner, I forgot I mentioned this, in the corner of Vader. Actually, no, it was supposed to be Holly Race in the corner of Vader because, like, he was Vader's manager. I don't know, is he left the company? I'm not too sure. Anyway, so the match between Hogan and Vader. Okay match, okay main event. Like, I enjoyed I think it wasn't a bad match. I thought this was gonna be like a terrible match. A slow plotting match. The match was fine because of Hogan and Vader. I think it's basically two big guys because Hogan is a big dude, 6'7", 6'8". Vader is about 6'2", 6'3". Was it the Irresistible Force versus the Movable Object? I think they accomplished that tick off the box. But I enjoy it, One more of the match, Hogan Irish whip Vader into the barricade while Flair sitting at front row, and then Vader, basically, kind of lift one of the barricade. That was kind of cool to see. Vader is just that fucking strong. Vader hit Hogan with the Vader bomb. Hogan kicked out. Then he's trying to hit Hogan with the moonsault. Hogan got out of the way. Then Hogan, he's Hulkster up or Hulk up. He Hulk up, hits Vader with the leg drop. He hit Vader with the big boot, then the leg drop. But Vader kicked out one, showing his power against Hogan. Even I think it kind of worked. I was giving it I thought this was gonna be a 3-star match, but besides that, it was okay. The fans really got behind, and also the fans were booing Hogan. He's not completely boos. You can tell he's got a mixed bag reaction. You could tell the fans really get really getting sick of Hogan because of his character. The red and yellow Hogan because he brought his WWF friends in WCW like Savage and the Nasty Boys and Jimmy Hart and Gene Okerlund and Bobby Heenan. Even though Heenan and Hogan hate each other, but Anyway, it's wow. It's don't worry, folks. You know, Hogan turned heel the following year in 1996 to form the NWO. Anyway, so the booking of this is a bit weird. Like it was an okay. It was really an okay match for what it is. Actually, it's second best. On say it's the second. You can say it's the second best match of the night. I'm gonna change my result. I'm gonna change it. You know, it was a good match for what it is, man. But it's really the booking was all over the place, man. It was a bit screwy. Like great example, like Hogan hit Vader on the head with the chair. With like that should be an automatic disqualification. Then there was a referee bump. Then I knew Flair will get involved. He did got involved. Took off his coat and attacked Hogan. First off, he attacked Hogan while the referee's down. Then he's trying to revive the referee. Then he attacked Hogan when the referee's revived. And then in the end, he hit Hogan from behind. Disqualification. Then, you know, they beat down Hogan, and out comes Sting and Savage to chase off Vader and Flair. And that was it. You know, you're trying to help Vader beating Hogan for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship, and he's a bit of a dumbass, Flair, in this match. You know, you're supposed to be helping Vader winning it, and instead you just cost Vader the World Heavyweight title. It's just what it is, screwy finish. But besides that, if you put this, I think it is the second best match of the night. I think the strength and the size of Hogan and Vader was good. I think it was good to see. You know, I think he kind of carried Hogan to a good match. You know, even Hogan's not known for his technical wrestling moves. He's there for his size. You know, he's a big bodybuilding dude. Vader, you know, he's a good athletic big man. You know, in Japan, in WCW, and you can say a little bit in the WWF. You know, before the whole stuff in Kuwait. That's another story for another time. Yeah, I mentioned it in my reviews of Raws of 1997. So. Anyway, you know, Hogan and Vader continued their rivalry throughout the summer until Vader left the company to go to WWF in the start of 1996. Flair and Savage started their rivalry, so yeah, 1995's, you could tell like 1995 in the two, yeah, really, I forgot to mention this, 1995 was really a shit year in professional wrestling in the two major wrestling companies, WCW and WWF. You know, I think they're doing. You could say WCW were doing a bit better than the WWF because WCW has the star power. Meanwhile, on the WWF side, there's lack of star power. You could say because most of the stars in the WWF they're not really in your face stars until one Stone Cold Steve Austin come along. The story for another time, but anyway, you could tell like WCW was doing business than WWF because like it's star power. WWF, you can say you have like Brett and Shawn and Razor and Diesel, The Undertaker. You know, that's my 2 cents on it. Anyway, so my final overall rating of WCW Superbrawl 5. Hard to really save the show. I'm gonna give it a 5.5. 5.5 out of 10. Is it a bad show? Like a truly bad show? No. It's still bad. Is it a great show? No. It's basically right down the middle. It's an okay show for what it is. You know, it's just a wild show. You know, like you got like the three matches on the show. Like the opener was decent between Paul Roma and Alex Wright. For me, the match of the night for me was Holland Heat versus the Nasty Boys, but it had that bullshit finish, you know, with throwing your opponent over the top rope for the disqualification, you know. But it's still a good match, and also Hogan and Vader was fine. It was a good, decent main event, but it was bogged down with Flair interfering and disqualification bullshit. But they are good matches, but they don't make me to go, wow, I need to go back and watch Superbrawl 5 again. No, they're just kind of there. It was fine for what it is. They're kind of enjoyable matches, despite of the booking all over the place. The OK Sting Savage versus Big Bopper and Avalanche was okay. It was an okay match. You know, speed versus agility. But besides that, yeah, actually I'm gonna give it 4 out of 10. I'm gonna change my result. It's still a bad show for what it is, but the rest of the cards sucked. Like Jim Duggan versus Bunkhouse Buck, Kevin Sullivan versus Dave Sullivan in a grudge match, Blacktop Bully versus Dustin Rhodes. Shit. Yeah. Yeah. It's like WCW was bad. It was. It's. It's bad. It's in its. 1995 was a bad year for professional wrestling. Like I said, I think WCW was doing better than the WWF of that year. But that's not saying too much. So anyway, so hope you enjoy my review of WCW Super Bowl 5 or Super Bowl 5. My apologies. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. What's your thoughts about the show? Smash the like button, click the like, click the bell, subscribe to the Central Man Network on YouTube. Be part of the Central Unit for more wrestling videos and more. Next time, I think a few years ago in 2020, I reviewed WCW World War 3 95. That was known for like the 60 free ring. Was it a 60-man free ringed battle royal? So let's do the following year's show of 1996. Is it better than 1995? Who knows? You got to wait to find out. Until